Ambassador Mina walked through the massive doors of the Galactic Council building. Her small human figure looked tiny next to the huge alien creatures around her. The building was so big that clouds formed near the ceiling. Strange sounds filled the air as thousands of different alien species talked in their own languages. She had been trying to get this meeting for 3 months. Every day, she sent messages to the council. Every day, they said no. But finally, they gave her 5 minutes to speak. 5 minutes to warn them about the greatest danger the galaxy had ever seen. Mina stepped onto the speaking platform in the center of the room. Above her, giant alien beings floated in the air. Some looked like living crystals that sparkled with rainbow colors. Others were made of gas and changed shape as they moved. A few had tentacles as long as trees, while some had so many eyes she could not count them all. The leader of the council was called Velnoth. He was 20 feet tall and made of living crystal that glowed with blue light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like thunder echoing through a cave. Human, Velnoth said, not even looking at her, "You have requested this meeting many times. Speak quickly. We have important matters to discuss." Mina took a deep breath. She knew most of these aliens thought humans were stupid and weak. Earth had only joined the galaxy community 300 years ago. To these ancient species, that was like yesterday. "Honor Council," she began, trying to keep her voice steady. "Our deep space sensors have found something terrible moving to the outer edge of the galaxy. We have detected massive energy readings unlike anything we have ever seen. Something is destroying entire star systems." She pressed a button on her device. A huge hologram appeared above the platform, showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the destroyed systems. There were 17 of them, and they formed a clear line moving toward the center of the galaxy. "These are not natural events," Mina continued. "Each system was completely destroyed. No survivors. No debris. Nothing left but empty space where billions of people once lived." Some of the aliens made dismissive sounds. A group of insect-like creatures clicked their mandibles in what sounded like laughter. A blob of purple gas shifted and made bubbling noises. Velnoth finally looked down at her, but his crystal face showed no interest. Young species often see threats where none exist. Your primitive sensors probably detected normal stellar phenomena, perhaps a few stars going supernova. "With respect, sir," Mina said, her voice getting stronger, 17 stars do not all go supernova in a perfect line, and our sensors are more advanced than you think. We detected the Andromedan probe ships 20 years before your best surveillance systems even saw them. This was true, and it made some of the aliens shift uncomfortably. The Andromedan probes have been a mystery that puzzled the Council for decades until Earth scientists figure out what they were. Furthermore, Mina continued, we have survivors. 3 ships escaped from the Kepler system before it was destroyed. They all report the same thing, massive black ships that seem to eat everything they touch. They call them the Devourers. Enough! Velnotha's voice boomed through the chamber. The Council has protected this galaxy for 50,000 years. We have faced every possible threat. Pirates, rebels, cosmic storms, rogue AI, plague ships. We have defeated them all. Your species has existed for barely a moment in galactic time. What could you possibly know about threats that we do not? Mina felt anger rising in her chest, but she forced herself to stay calm. We know because we are watching. We have built observation stations throughout the outer rim. We have been tracking this threat for months while you ignored our warnings. It is moving toward the center of the galaxy at incredible speed. At its current rate, it will reach the middle rim colonies in 18 months. And what exactly do you suggest we do about this imaginary threat? Asked another council member, a giant jellyfish-like creature floating in a tank of green liquid. Mobilize the fleet? Mina said immediately. Send scouts to investigate. Share defensive technologies between species. Work together to dash. Absolutely not. Velnoth cut her off. We will not waste council resources chasing human nightmares. The galaxy is at peace. Crime is at historic lows. Our colonies are prosperous and growing. We will not create panic over censor ghosts and refugee stories. Mina felt her heart sink, but she made one last try. What if you are wrong? What if this threat is real and we do nothing? How many billions will die while we debate? This meeting is over, Velnath declared. Security, escort the human ambassador out, and make sure she understands. No more requests for emergency sessions. The council has spoken. As the guards approached, Mina noticed something that gave her a small bit of hope. Not all the aliens looked convinced. A few species that humanity had good relationships with, the peaceful plant-like Arcturians and the scholarly mammalian Centauri, seemed worried. Some were quietly talking among themselves and looking at her holographic data. But it was not enough. The most powerful species in the galaxy had made their decision. They would not listen to warnings from humans. As Mina was escorted out of the chamber, she activated her communicator. This is Ambassador Lead at Earth Command. The Council refused to act. Begin implementation of Protocol 7 immediately. If they will not help us prepare, we will have to prepare alone. 6 months after the Council meeting, the first refugee ships started appearing at space stations across the galaxy. They came in small groups at first, a mining ship here, a cargo vessel there. All of them told the same terrifying story. Their homes were gone, not destroyed in war or blown up by weapons, but simply erased from existence, as if they had never been there at all. Admiral Park Jinho stood in the command center of Luna Station, watching the news reports on the giant screens around him. Each day brought worse news. The Altarian Empire had lost contact with 15 of their outer colonies. The gas beings of the Void Collective had stopped receiving messages from their deep space explorers. Even the mighty Crystalline Federation was starting to worry about their border systems. Admiral, Lieutenant Kim Jue walked up to him carrying a data tablet. Her face was pale and worried. We just received another batch of refugee interviews. They all say the same thing. Black ships that seem to bend space around them. When they attack, they do not fire weapons. They just make things stop existing. Jinho took the tablet and read through the reports. Every survivor described the same impossible sight. Massive dark vessels that moved through space like living shadows. When they reached a planet, they would surround it completely. Then the planet would simply vanish, along with its moons, space stations, and everything else in the system. How many confirmed system losses now? Jinho asked. 47, sir, and the pattern is getting clearer. SUA touched her tablet, and a holographic map appeared in the air between them. Red dots marked the destroyed systems, forming a clear line that pointed directly toward the center of the galaxy. Whatever these devourers are, they are not wandering randomly. They have a plan. Jinho studied the map with growing concern. The red line was like an arrow aimed at the heart of galactic civilization. Any response from the Council? Nothing official, sir, but our intelligence sources say there is panic in the higher levels. Some species are quietly moving their important people away from the outer systems. Others are building new defensive stations, though they claim it is just routine upgrades. And Council Prime Velnath? SUA shook her head, still calling it a pirate problem. He sent 3 patrol cruisers to investigate the latest system loss. We have not heard from them since. 3 patrol cruisers against a force that had already consumed 47 star systems. Jinho felt a cold anger in his stomach. The Council's pride was going to get everyone killed. Sir, another officer called from across the command center. We are receiving an emergency transmission from one of our deep space monitoring stations. Put on the main screen. Jinho ordered. The face of Captain Yu, Jisoo, appeared on the screen. She was a commander of Deep Watch Station 7, one of humanity's most advanced observation posts located far beyond the galaxy's edge. Her usually calm expression showed pure terror. Earth Command, this is Deep Watch 7. We have visual contact with the enemy fleet. Her voice was shaking. Dear God, there are millions of them. The gravitational distortion from their formation is off our scales. They are moving faster than anything we have ever recorded. Captain, can you send us the sensor data? Jinho asked. Already transmitting, sir. But Admiral, you need to see this yourself. The screen changed to show the view from the station's most powerful telescope. What Jinho saw made his blood run cold. Against the black background of deep space, a massive dark cloud was moving toward the galaxy. As the image zoomed in, the cloud resolved into individual ships, millions upon millions of sleek black vessels moving in perfect formation. They seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making them look like holes cut out of reality itself. How long until they reached the Middle Rim colonies? Jinho asked, though he dreaded the answer. At their current speed, 18 months, sir. Maybe less if they speed up after consuming more systems. 18 months. Jinho felt the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on him. The Council would never act fast enough. By the time they admitted the threat was real, it would be too late. Captain Yu, abandon your station immediately. Return to Earth with all your data. Sir, if we leave, we will lose our ability to track them. If you stay, we will lose you. That is an order, Captain. Yes, sir. Deep Watch 7 out. Jinho turned to Lieutenant Kim. Send a message to all human colonies and ships. Operation Homecoming begins now. Every human vessel, military and civilian, is to return to Sol System immediately. Sir, that will leave our colonies defenseless. Our colonies are already defenseless against this enemy, but Earth will not be. Issue the recall order and activate the fortress protocols. Kim looked confused. Sir, the Galactic Council specifically forbids individual species from militarizing their home systems. If we activate fortress protocols, The Council ignored our warnings for 6 months. Jinho interrupted, his voice cold as space. They chose to handle this threat with 3 patrol cruisers, while refugees scream about planets vanishing into nothing. Now they can ignore our preparations, too. As the orders went out across human space, Jinho stared at the tactical display, showing the approaching doom. Red dots marched steadily toward the galaxy's heart like a cosmic infection. Soon, very soon, they would test whether human desperation and creativity could stand against a force that consumed entire civilizations. The storm was coming, and Earth would be ready. The greatest military force the galaxy had ever assembled floated in perfect formation at the edge of known space. 5,000 warships from every major species in the Galactic Council hung like deadly stars against the black void. Crystal dreadnoughts from the Altarian Empire bent light around their hulls, making them shimmer like mirages. Biomechanical leviathans grown by the void collective pulse with organic weapons that had evolved over millions of years. Energy beings housed in massive containment vessels glowed with the power of small suns. Council Prime Velna stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Unity. The massive vessel was 3 miles long and made entirely of living crystal that could repair itself and adapt to any threat. He looked out at his fleet with deep satisfaction. This was the power that had kept peace in the galaxy for 50,000 years. Finally, he transmitted to his fleet commanders, his voice carrying easily across the quantum communication network. We can put an end to this foolish panic. Whatever pirates or rebels have been causing trouble in the outer systems will scatter like dust when they see our combined might. Admiral Kefvar floated beside him in a containment suit filled with glowing gas. His people were beings of pure energy who had fought in more wars than any other species. The humans continue to send us warning messages about unprecedented threat levels and reality-warping weapons. Their ambassador, Lee, sent another urgent transmission just this morning. Should we not review their data before we engage? Velnatha's crystal form flickered with what passed for laughter among his people. Humans see monsters in every shadow because their lives are so short. They panic at the first sign of trouble. We have faced every threat this galaxy has produced: rogue artificial intelligences, plague ships, cosmic storms, rebel fleets, even the void walkers from the dark space between galaxies. What could possibly challenge the combined power of the Council fleet? Science Officer Talmec, a spider-like being with 12 eyes and 8 arms covered in sensors, suddenly called out from his station. Contact! Massive signatures appearing on long-range sensors. Finally, Velnath said with satisfaction, all ships, prepare for standard engagement. Whatever ragtag pirate fleet has been terrorizing the outer colonies is about to learn what happens when they face real military power. The enemy fleet appeared on their view screens as a single dark mass moving at impossible speed. At first, it looked like a small moon racing toward them across the void. Then their sensors began to separate the individual signatures. An excited chatter filled the communication channels. "By the Ancient Ones," whispered Talmec, his multiple eyes wide with shock. "It is not one massive ship. It is millions of smaller vessels moving in perfect formation. The gravitational distortion from their combined mass should tear apart any fleet. But they are maintaining perfect cohesion somehow." Velnoth studied the readings with growing interest. The enemy force was indeed impressive, far larger than any pirate fleet should be. But size meant nothing without proper strategy and weapons. Interesting numbers, but they are still just ships. All vessels, assume attack formation Omega-7. Prepare all primary weapons for maximum range engagement. The Devourer fleet moved like a single living creature across the stars. Millions of sleek black ships flowed around gravitational anomalies and stellar debris as if they were extensions of space itself. As they approached firing range, something impossible began to happen. The space between the two fleets started to change. Reality began to fold and twist like paper being crumpled in a giant hand. Distances that sensors said were millions of miles suddenly became mere kilometers, while other measurements stretched impossibly far. Some Council ships found themselves suddenly isolated in pockets of distorted space-time, where their engines could not function properly. Others were pulled into formations that defied three-dimensional physics, their hulls groaning under stresses that should not exist. "What is happening?" Velnoth demanded, his crystal form flashing with alarm. "This is not possible. Nothing can manipulate space-time on this scale." "Sir," Talmec's voice was high with terror. "The enemy is not just using advanced technology. They are rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in local space. Our weapons cannot lock onto targets that exist in 11 dimensions simultaneously. The first wave of the Devourer attack was not weapons, in any sense that galactic civilization understood. It was pure erasure made manifest. Dark energy flowed from the black ships like liquid shadow, and where it touched the Council vessels, something horrifying happened. The ships did not explode or break apart or even burn. They simply stopped existing, as if they had never been built at all. Crews, weapons, armor, life support, everything vanished from reality in an instant, leaving behind only empty space. "Impossible," Velnoth breathed, his voice cracking with something that might have been fear for the first time in his 1,000-year life. "Matter cannot simply be erased. The conservation of energy forbids it." But the universe was not listening to his protests. In the first 10 seconds of engagement, the pride of galactic civilization lost half its fleet to forces that operated completely outside normal physics. Admiral Kethvar watched in horror as ships he had served with for centuries simply winked out of existence. "Emergency retreat!" He screamed into the communication system. "All ships, emergency jump to rally point 7. This is not a battle we can win." But it was already too late. The Devourers had tasted the fleet's energy, and they were hungry for more. The battle lasted exactly 47 seconds from first contact to complete defeat. Admiral Kethvar floated in his energy containment suit on the bridge of his flagship, watching the impossible destruction unfold before his eyes. Ships that had survived 1,000 battles were being erased from existence faster than his mind could process. The crystal dreadnoughts of the Altarian Empire, vessels that could bend light and time to their will, shattered like fragile glass against forces that seemed to come from outside the normal universe. "All ships retreat," he screamed into his communicator, his gaseous form flickering with panic. "Emergency jump protocols now." But the Devourers had learned from their previous encounters. They were not just destroying the fleet. They were preventing escape. Black tendrils of impossible energy reached out across space, wrapping around Council ships like cosmic spiderwebs. Any vessel that tried to jump to hyperspace found itself trapped in bubbles of distorted reality where faster-than-light travel became meaningless. Council Prime Velnoth stood frozen on his bridge as his mighty flagship groaned under stresses that should not exist. Through his view screen, he watched the biomechanical Leviathan, the size of a city, simply fade away like smoke. The living ship had been grown over 10,000 years. Its organic armor evolved to heal from any damage. It lasted 3 seconds against whatever the Devourers were using. "Status report," he demanded, his crystal voice cracking with desperation. Science Officer Talmec worked frantically at his controls, his 8 arms moving in blur across multiple screens. "Sir, I cannot get coherent readings. The enemy is not using energy weapons or projectiles. They are somehow making our ships impossible to exist. The quantum signatures are being rewritten at the subatomic level." A massive explosion lit up the view screen as the Void Collective's flagship was consumed by dark energy. The vessel had been made from materials that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously, making it nearly indestructible by conventional means. The Devourers destroyed it by making those extra dimensions collapse into nothing. "How is this possible?" Velnoth whispered, staring at the tactical display as red markers representing his fleet vanished one by one. "We have technology from species that are millions of years old. We have weapons that can crack planets and shields that can stop black holes. What are we fighting?" His answer came as sensors detected a Devourer construct approaching his flagship. It was the size of a small city, its black hull seeming to absorb light itself. As it drew closer, reality began to warp around the eternal unity. The crystal walls of the bridge started to change, becoming something that was not quite solid and not quite energy. "Emergency escape pods," Velnoth ordered. "Abandon ship immediately." But there was nowhere to run. The escape pods that launched from his dying flagship found themselves in pockets of twisted space-time where up and down had no meaning. Some pods aged 1,000 years in seconds. Others froze in time, their occupants trapped forever in a single moment. Velnoth had just enough time to send one final transmission before his flagship encountered the city-sized Devourer construct. "This is Council Prime Velnoth to any surviving vessels. The enemy is beyond our understanding. They do not conquer or harvest. They consume everything, making it part of themselves. Warn the inner systems. Tell them we were wrong. Tell them the humans were right." The transmission cut off as Eternal Unity, flagship of galactic civilization for 20,000 years, ceased to exist. Of the 5,000 ships that had assembled to face the Devourer threat, exactly 37 escaped. They limped back to Council space, carrying sensor recordings that would haunt the survivors forever. The data showed something worse than defeat. It showed that the Devourers were not just winning, they were feeding. Every destroyed ship, every consumed crew member, every erased weapon made them stronger and more numerous. The news of the fleet's complete annihilation spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed communication could carry it. Panic set in immediately. Species that had never known defeat began frantically evacuating their homeworlds. Others went mad with terror, unable to understand how an enemy could simply erase matter from reality. On the water world of Aquatica, the dolphin-like cetaceans loaded their entire civilization onto Generation ships and fled toward the galactic edge. The machine intelligences of the Silicon Collective uploaded themselves into quantum storage and hid in asteroid fields. Even the proud warrior clans of the feline empire abandoned their ancient homeworld and scattered across 1,000 different systems. In the emergency council session that followed, only 12 species bothered to send representatives. The rest were either fleeing or had already fallen to the advancing Devourer tide. The great chamber that had once echoed with the voices of 1,000 different civilizations now felt empty and cold. Acting Council Prime Veltar, a mammalian being from the Centauri system, looked around the nearly empty chamber with despair. His people were scholars and diplomats, not warriors. They had no idea how to fight something that operated outside the laws of physics. "Fellow delegates," he began, his voice shaking with barely controlled panic, "our greatest fleet has been destroyed in less than a minute. Our most advanced weapons were useless. Our strongest shields provided no protection. The enemy is now 3 weeks away from reaching the Middle Rim colonies, and we have no way to stop them." One delegate raised a tentacle-like appendage. "What about the humans? They tried to warn us about this threat. Perhaps they have some knowledge we lack." Veltar nodded slowly. "Send an immediate message to Earth. Tell Ambassador Lee that the Galactic Council formally requests her assistance. And pray to whatever gods still listen that humanity has an answer, because we certainly do not." 3 weeks after the Council fleet's destruction, the Devourers arrived at the edge of Sol System expecting to find another easy meal. They had consumed 43 different civilizations across the galaxy, each one falling within minutes of contact. Advanced technology, ancient wisdom, powerful weapons. Nothing had been able to stop their inexorable advance toward the galactic core. But as their massive fleet poured into human space like a tide of living darkness, they encountered something they had never seen before in their eons of existence. The humans were waiting for them. Admiral Park Jin-ho stood in the command center of Defense Platform Alpha, hidden behind Jupiter's Great Red Spot. Around him, dozens of officers worked at control stations, their faces calm despite the approaching doom. For 18 months, humanity had prepared for this moment, while the rest of the galaxy ignored their warnings. All stations report ready, announced Commander Choi Yuna from her position aboard the orbital fortress New Seoul. Gravitational anchor points are stable and locked onto target coordinates. The enemy fleet is committed to their approach vector. Jinho nodded as he watched millions of dark shapes pour into Seoul system on his tactical display. The Devourers moved in their characteristic formation, reality warping and twisting around their fleet as they prepared to erase Earth's defenses just as they had countless worlds before. They think this will be easy, Jinho murmured to himself. After 50,000 years of victory, they had become predictable. The truth was that humanity had spent every day since the Council's dismissal studying the enemy. While other species panicked or fled, human scientists had analyzed every piece of sensor data from the destroyed fleets. They had learned something that the ancient civilizations missed in their terror. The Devourers' reality-warping abilities had patterns and limitations. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Kim S.U.A. from the sensor station, "enemy fleet is entering the outer perimeter. They are beginning to manipulate local space-time exactly as predicted." "Perfect," Jinho said with grim satisfaction. "They are following the same attack pattern they used against the Council fleet. Initiate Phase 1. All around Sol system, hidden weapon platforms that had taken a full year to construct began to power up, but these were not the energy cannons or missile launchers that other species used. Humanity had built something far more exotic. Weapons that used the fundamental forces of the universe itself as ammunition. The first salvo fired concentrated gravity itself at the approaching enemy. Invisible beams of warped space-time struck the Devourer formation, creating pockets where their reality manipulation became impossible. Suddenly, ships that had been moving through 11 dimensions found themselves trapped in normal three-dimensional space. Direct hits on the lead formations. Yuna reported excitedly, "The gravitational traps are working. We have successfully isolated over 10,000 enemy vessels." But Jinho knew this was only the beginning. They are learning fast. Look at the rear formations. They are already adapting their approach. Indeed, the bulk of the Devourer fleet was changing tactics, spreading out and approaching from multiple angles to avoid the gravity traps. Their black holes rippled as they prepared to unleash the same reality-erasing attack that had destroyed the Council's greatest fleet. "Phase 2, Jinho ordered calmly. From concealment throughout the asteroid belt, humanity's second line of defense activated. These weapons fired something even stranger than compressed gravity. They launched miniature black holes, each one no bigger than a marble but containing the mass of a small moon. The tiny singularities tore through space toward the Devourer fleet, dragging chunks of reality along with them. Where the micro-black holes struck enemy ships, something amazing happened. The Devourer's ability to erase matter met objects that could not be erased, black holes that existed by consuming everything around them. The result was a cosmic stalemate that left both weapons neutralized. "Phase 2 successful," reported Commander Lee Dammy from Mars Station. "We have eliminated their reality erasure capabilities in 17 combat zones. But, sir, they are still coming. There are just too many of them." Jinho looked at the tactical display and saw she was right. Even with their exotic weapons neutralized, the Devourer fleet still numbered in the millions. They were switching to conventional attacks now. Energy beams and kinetic projectiles that could still destroy Earth's defenses through sheer volume. "Ambassador Lee," he spoke into the communicator, "you are clear for Phase 3. From her position in the Kuiper Belt, Ambassador Lee Mina activated humanity's final and most desperate weapon, The paradox engine had taken every human physicist working together to design, using theoretical mathematics that even they barely understood. It was built on principles that the galaxy's greatest minds had dismissed as impossible fantasy. The device did something that should have been utterly impossible, according to every known law of physics. For exactly 2.3 seconds, it changed the fundamental rules of reality in Sol System, according to human mathematics, rather than universal constants. In that brief moment, entities that existed by consuming matter and energy found themselves in a universe where their very nature was contradictory. The Devourers, who had devoured countless galaxies by making other things impossible, suddenly discovered that they themselves were impossible. The effect was immediate and absolute. Millions of ships that had terrorized the galaxy for eons simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not damaged. They became nothing, as if they had never been created at all. When normal physics reasserted itself 2.3 seconds later, Sol System was quiet except for the gentle hum of human technology. All stations, this is Earth Command. Mina's exhausted voice came over the communication system. Threat eliminated. The galaxy is safe. Humanity had done the impossible. They had defeated an enemy that ancient civilizations could not even comprehend.